Speaking of Battlefield 1,
dun dun dun,
which we talked about a few sentences ago.
Yep.
I just went to my in-laws for the Christmas holiday.
How was that? You have a good time?
I did have a good time. Christmas Day was very different from how my family spends Christmas Day. It was very after we opened gifts and I had breakfast and all that fun family time. It was all kind of like individualistic. So like everyone kind of went and did their own thing.
Really?
And it's me and my wife.
Sure.
And then her parents, and then she has 2 sisters. So not really a lot of people that I can hang out with. I don't like hanging out with girls that much.
Well,
and my wife
only has a sister, so
only has 2 sisters, so she's doing that. So I was kind of doing my own thing. Luckily enough for me, my sister-in-law owns an Xbox One and owns a plethora of games for that.
Good.
And she had it hooked up to the main TV in the living room.
That's what's up.
So she came through there.
Yeah.
I have never played an Xbox One before in my life, as I am an avid PS4 ever since E3 in 2013 when Xbox just pooped all over themselves.
Yeah, they were like, hey, here's all this crap.
Here's all this crap
they
you don't want.
Went back on all of them because they all were terrible ideas.
So I bought a PS4 and haven't... This is the first time I've actually ever played an Xbox One. Might have been the first time I ever held an Xbox One controller.
Really?
And good lord, that thing sucks.
It's so different.
At least compared to a PS4.
I like the
PS4
joystick.
like fits, but the joysticks on the Xbox One's controller are smaller.
You know, I definitely
thumbpads?
think this is definitely a preference thing because I just had the conversation with someone who loves Xbox, and he's like, "Man, I just hate the PS4 controllers." I'm like, "How can you hate the PS4 controllers? They're so perfect."
The triggers are they're different from the PS4. I think they might be better on Xbox. The joysticks are smaller. I don't like on PS4 you have L1, R1, L2, R2, and on Xbox One since 360 or since the Xbox
LB,
original, they have
RB.
bumpers and triggers, LT and RB, and if the resolution isn't right on the game, it's hard to tell which one you're supposed to press. Not to mention, because I have never owned an Xbox One in my life, or an Xbox in general, I don't have the muscle memory of knowing which one is which. So obviously, the trigger is the trigger, and that's for most shooters, that's how you fire.
Right.
But sometimes when they say, press right bumper to do things, I hesitate, and I don't know what to do. Which is frustrating. Normally it's for menu navigation. It's all muscle memory, but I just don't have that yet.
Right.
Anyway, that thing is huge. It's like holding a frisbee.
But was holding like a frisbee? Sega Dreamcast.
Yeah.
That was a frisbee.
But my first instance was I turned it on, and it obviously automatically went to the home screen on Xbox, and I had literally no idea what to do. There's so many ads and so many different tabs and so many different places to go. It was just so clustered. I couldn't find anything I wanted, and you could say the same thing about PS4.
I think so far the complaints are preference driven, like what you have experience with. Because I literally made the exact same complaint last night because my roommate has an Xbox One and we use it in the main room for like watching TV and stuff. Yeah, and I was like trying to find the Netflix app because it wasn't in his like normal feed of things because he hadn't opened it in a while, and I like searched for it and I was like, where the cuss is this thing? I can't find it. And I was like, I hate the Xbox One operating system. And then my other roommate was like, dude, it's because you have a PS4. You're just used to that. I mean, I
think it's valid, but at the same time, there's like... So my brother-in-law got a PS4, and he said pretty much the same thing. He's like, why are there so many ads on the home screen? I just want, like, the original 360, Xbox 360. It was game, tab, settings, tab, friends, tab, stuff like that. Right. Everything was there. Right. But now there's so many, like... social features on the PS4. You know, if you go to the game and then you go one lower, it has all your friends are playing this. This is on Twitch. This and this and this and this and this. But I do think I don't know if either of the operating systems the home menu is that great.
Yeah. They work.
But I played Battlefield 1 for like 6 hours in the living room. Yeah. Mostly because
tell me about your experience with
there was nothing else to do in the house. As I'm a guy, and the house is geared toward women. Yep. And I did not want to play for 6 hours. I really didn't want to play at all. But there's literally nothing else for me to do. So I'm like, I guess I'll play this. I haven't played Battlefield 1 yet. Yeah. And my thoughts, it's very hard to get thoughts on Battlefield 1, because one, I'm playing a game I've never played before. And it's hard to judge that. But also, I'm playing on a system, in a setting, in a location that I've never played before, and it's very different to me. Right. So on my setup, I have a monitor, a small monitor. It's like 23 inches. I have headphones. I have the PS4 controller I'm used to. My PS4 settings. All that stuff I'm used to.
Sure.
Right? At their house, I'm also sitting like 2 feet away from my monitor. Yeah. That's how I like to play. At their house, I'm like 10 feet away from their like 50-inch TV, playing with surround sound, playing with a controller I don't have muscle memory to, and with settings that I'm not familiar with, like in-game settings.
And you don't even know how to change them, really.
And it took me a couple hours to figure out a way to get it right. Not to mention, I'm also playing on Wi-Fi and not like a connected LAN. So I felt like, well, the TV isn't the newest. So it felt like there was lag on the TV itself from when I was actually playing. And it felt like there was an internet laggy connection because I didn't know.
Sure.
Because I on my PS4 I'm hardwired in, so I'm at my PS4 I'm set to play. Like I've done the most I can do to get my games to play correctly. There is just kind of like just an easy setup. But the game itself, if I didn't have all those things, I think I would have enjoyed it a little bit. But it was hard for me to aim. The maps are huge.
Yep. Which is classic Battlefield.
It looks really good. I think if I didn't have so many out-of-game problems, I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
I also think if you would have played with a friend...
Yes.
I really think the Battlefield games lean themselves towards squad-based. Like, you play with your friends, not individual-based.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean... What else?
So I played it for 6 hours, which is a longer runtime than I played it. I played in all these different scenarios and situations that I didn't necessarily want to play it in. And I did not have a good taste in my mouth. But I have not written the game off. I have asked you to bring me your copy of Battlefield 1.
I did.
And I'm going to try it on the PS4. And I'm going to see if it was the game that I didn't like or if it was a setting I didn't like.
True.
So I'm giving it a second chance.
Sure.
Normally you play a game for 6 hours and you know if you like it or not.
True.
I didn't know. So now, as soon as we get done here, I'm going to play some Battlefield 1 probably for the rest of the night.
Sure.
Try to figure out if I like it or not.
Yeah.
Also, you can buy weapons in that game with in-game currency for like 250 in-game currency or whatever.
Sure.
My sister-in-law had like 4,500 in-game currency, and she's like, don't buy anything, I'm trying to save up.
What?
And I'm like...
What are you setting up for? Jeez.
And after a couple hours of me playing with like the basic guns at like rank 35, I'm like, I'm buying what I want. She had left at that point. I'm like, I'm just gonna buy it.
Just do it.
Like, what do you saving that much money for?
What are you doing? Just buy some good guns.
Like, so I bought some, and it was
the war bonds. That's what they're called.
Yeah, it was interesting. Let me play on PS4, and we'll come back next week or whatever, and I'll have more in-depth thoughts.
Sure.
But also, when I was playing, like her dad was watching me.
Oh, dude, pressure, social, and it's Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's like family. Like I don't feel comfortable very often playing video games in the living room with the family in there.
Yes.
Because
of your Assassin's Creed moment? Was that you or was that somebody else?
Well, they liked Assassin's Creed. Oh. They actually enjoyed it because they thought it looked cool. But my mom gets motion sickness, so most of the games I can't play in there. Like I played Battlefront, the new one, in there once with my brothers and my dad, and they all loved it. And as soon as my mom walked in, we had to turn it off because she
Mom, just go away.
I know. Don't listen to this, Mom. And, so...
I'm really excited to play the campaign.
That's socially just awkward. Yeah, dude, the campaigns are great. You should start there. I think.
Maybe.
Because then you'll get used to the way the game
plays.
I'm
not wrong. So, literally, I tried so many different things to get everything correct. So I went into the settings, and I went even to the advanced settings. So I changed the sensitivity. I changed the dead space on the thumbsticks.
Nice.
To try to get it all right, and by the time I was done, I was finally maybe getting a little bit better, but I still couldn't snap on people like I can in every other game. I think it had to do with the size of the TV and the controller and all this other stuff.
Also, just like aiming feels different in different games. Yeah, and I think Battlefield does feel a lot different than like Overwatch or Call of Duty. Even it feels a lot different.
Yeah, but anyways, there's a lot of. So you might be able to relate to this. Maybe not, because you normally play with your family, and they already know that you like video games. Sure. And my wife's family knows that I like video games.
Sure.
But this did not bode well for me in this situation. No. Because as I've said, I sat in the living room and played Call of Duty, or I played Battlefield for 6 hours on Christmas Day. Sure. And I didn't want to do that, but there was literally nothing else going on. So from their perspective, they're like, oh, he just wants to play video games, and he's doing that for 6 hours. From my perspective, I'm like, somebody give me something else to do. Right. But there's nothing.
Yeah, well, that's always an awkward situation.
So then they're like, oh, well, he only wants to play video games. He doesn't want to hang out with us. I would love to hang out. I would love to do anything else than this right now. I'm not having fun playing this game, but there's nothing else for me to do.
Yeah.
But then also, her dad was watching me play, and we had fun, and he was like, well, most people aren't as familiar with games as you and I. So you have your allies, you have your people that are on your team, you have people that aren't on your team.
Sure.
And every time you'd see somebody on the screen, he'd be like, oh, there he is. Oh, there's a guy, shoot him. And most of the time it was like,
gaming.
it was like my teammate.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I can't shoot him because he's not an enemy. And then I would get blindsided by an enemy that came up behind me.
Yeah.
And I would die, and he's like, oh, you died, huh? I'm like, oh, I couldn't help it.
Oh, man.
But there's these big old airships and super armored boats in Battlefield. Then you can get into a weapon and like blow them up.
Sure.
And he's always like, we'll aim for that specific thing because technologically that would do the most damage to this one airship. I'm like, that's not really how video games work. Like, it's pretty much all treated as one big hitbox. You just do damage. And I know there's weak points on them.
Right. I mean, you can like the things that hang off the bottom of the airship, you can like knock down individual thing, so they have less turrets to shoot from.
I assumed as much, but when it was happening, I didn't really have time to like explain to him.
Right.
So I was fighting against a big old boat. I don't know what the dreadnought.
Yeah, the dreadnoughts.
And if you do critical damage to it, it opens like a hole in the hull. And he's like, shoot in the hole, and you'll blow up the engines, and the whole ship will blow up. I'm like, that's not really how games work.
Because now it's already damaged, so it won't do anything.
Yeah,
is how gamers think.
Like,
it's interesting. Yeah.
So
Not a scenario for success.
Yeah, that was a lot of working against me. But I'm very excited to go back into it and see what I can find on my own terms and everything. And I think I'll enjoy it. Yeah, I think it's a game that looks like fun. She did have some medal she was pursuing. Like you have medals.
Yeah, you can pursue like specific goals in multiplayer, and you get medals for it.
So one of hers, I did a whole 3 rank of them. So one of them was like get 10 melee kills in general.
Yeah.
One was get 5 melee kills in a round, and one was get 3 melee kills in a life. I'm like, okay, I can do that.
So you did it?
So I did it all.
Nice.
But there's a bayonet charge in the game, and that seems completely broken to me.
What, too powerful?
No, it's like
not useful.
And that and the melee in general, there doesn't seem to be like a melee lock on. Like it doesn't lock on to the enemy character.
Right.
It kind of just like there's a really small hitbox, it seems.
And if you hit it, they're dead. And if you don't,
but especially with the bayonet charge, you're charging at somebody, and if they just sidestep like a little bit, there's no lock on. You just run right past it.
Oh, I know. That happens to me all the time with bayonet chargers.
I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
I don't use
just
bayonets
turn
anymore.
And kill him.
I used bayonets for a little while, and then I stopped because I was like, this is stupid.
Anyway, I'm excited to see what can happen. I'm excited to see what kind of stuff I can get out of it. There's some good trophies on it. Maybe I'll do that. The campaigns I've heard are fantastic.
I love them.
The vignettes.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to play that. You were telling me when we went to lunch that you've been playing Final Fantasy.
I have.
And we're going to talk spoilers. I want you to tell me everything.
Sure, okay.
You're on the last chapter?
Yes.
So things I'm interested in
the only thing
from you. It's chapter 13.
Okay.
And the story and what you told me in the car about how the story is going different directions from what you said.
Okay. So where would you like me to start with it? Okay. Well, to give our listeners some context, I've put 68 hours onto this game.
Wow.
With the intent. I got it.
Like a week ago?
2 weeks ago, I think.
All right.
Because it's been 2 or 3 weeks.
But most of those hours are you grinding and watching Netflix?
Yes and no. Well, it's been grinding out, I guess, trophies. I'm trying to 100% this game.
Yeah, you are.
And the reason I have so many hours on it is because one of the trophies is do 80 side quests. And so I did. I've done more than 80
not all
side
of them.
quests. Huh?
That's not all of them?
That's not all the side quests. There's more than that.
You're telling me that the trophies on this are super easy.
Yeah, I mean, that's not difficult to do. Like, it takes time, right?
But it's not do all the side quests.
Right, it's
are
not
there
do all.
ever populated side quests, or there's a set number of side quests in the game?
There's a set number in the game.
So it's not a Ubisoft game where they're like, find all the feathers.
Right, no. Which I'm glad for, and I got to choose the side quests that I found were interesting, and I avoided ones that I was like, I really don't like this character side quest, so I stopped doing them.
Yeah.
Like one was like find frogs. I was like, I hate this.
I'm not doing
that. Then there's other one that's like a hunter guy, and he's like, go find the dog tags of this fallen hunter, and you go out there and you have to kill the thing that killed the hunter, and that's cool.
Classic.
I love those.
Classic.
So yeah, I've done more than 80 now, because you get good loot and XP for doing side quests. And that's what took up most of my time, I would say. up to this point. So now I'm on chapter 14. There's 15 chapters in the game. Once you beat chapter 14, you've beaten the storyline, and chapter 15 is post-game stuff.
How do you know that?
Because I looked it up.
Oh, all right.
Because I was like, when can I... Because I was looking at trophies. I was like, when can I get the flying regalia? And it was after you beat the game. It's in the post-game. Because it speeds up the in-game stuff. Because you do less of the grindy stuff and more like dungeon crawling. More. Yeah, so you can go to the dungeons easier and things like that.
Is there not fast travel?
There is, but loading takes forever. Also, if you travel there, you get... well, at least how I have it. You get AP and you get XP for just traveling.
Huh.
Which has it's incentivized me not fast traveling. And loading screens take forever anyway, so it's like not even...
What do you mean by forever? Like minutes long?
Yeah, I would say a load screen probably takes...
Bloodborne
probably
long?
takes... No, not the before update, no. It's about 2 minutes, I would say. Which Bloodborne could be less.
That's like Skyrim long.
Yeah. It's like 2 minutes. So
like in-game Skyrim.
Most of the things you can do in the game, you can drive to within 2 minutes.
Oh.
Like, this, if you do a really long drive, like the longest drive I have is like 7 minutes.
How big is the world?
I mean, it's really big. I can't run it. A day in the game, I can only run probably a fourth of the map if I try to go straight across.
Is that a day in the game? Is that like 1 minute equals 1 second in real time?
I don't know what the ratio is, but it's about probably 30 minutes a day.
Okay.
So it would take me probably 2 hours to run across the entire map.
Interesting.
On foot.
Is there a sprint button?
Huh? Yes. And there's a stamina.
Oh.
But you can eat a breakfast that makes your stamina infinite.
Ooh, what kind of breakfast is that?
I can't remember. Some fish thing.
Oh.
I can't remember. So,
fish has protein.
The game. Storyline wise, I really like this game, or I did at the beginning. And I'm okay with how it's ending, but there are just a lot of things that kind of get real confusing, and it jumps around, and it feels like it's rushed.
Can you tell me the story? I don't know what the story is.
Sure.
So all I know is that there's 2 kingdoms, and there's the prince that's supposed to be getting married.
Well, there's this empire that is taking over the world, obviously, because that's what empires do.
Obviously.
And then there's the kingdom of Lucis, which is where you're from. And at the very beginning of the game, your father, the king, has accepted...
Lucius Malfoy.
Yes.
The king. Okay.
He accepts a truce with the Empire, because they've been fighting for a long time. And they come to the city, and it's a surprise attack.
The Empire comes to...
Yep. They come to the city...
good old Trojan
and
horse.
They literally go to the signing table, and they are about to sign the thing, and then they get betrayed, and the king is killed, and everybody's killed, and Lucius falls to the Empire. And so now you're the king, because your father died, and you're just running around with your 4 guys. There's like a little bit of a resistance movement against the Empire, which is like the marshal of the Lucius's forces escaped the city. And so he's like running a resistance. Which they could have done so much more with, and they didn't. And that's what I really wanted.
You want to see more of the rebellion?
It would have been sick if by the end of like chapter like 12 or something was the resistance like fighting a huge pitched battle against the Empire, doing some sort of like stealth like you do like one stealth mission with the resistance, and other than that, like you're done. And they could have done so much more with that. And I thought the marshal was a cool character, and I wish they would have done more. So that's one of my complaints. But either way, you go through and you're trying to do a few things. As king, you have access to magic, which other people don't. So the line of Lucii has magic. Okay. So you can make magic bombs, essentially, that your other players can use. Or you just have the power of it. And part of that is the divine. There's like 6 gods in the story, and those are the summons from all the games have the summons in them. And so in this game, the summons are the gods, and so there are 6 of them, and you have to go win their favor. And
6 gods.
And that's what all the kings have to do. All kings have to do that.
Drake there for you.
Sure, but you don't actually ever do that.
Wait, you don't do what?
Like at the beginning of the game, it's like you got to win the favor of the divine.
But you don't. They just kind of show up.
Sort of, yeah, essentially. Like the first Titan is the first one you fight, and you either beat him.
But you do fight him.
Yeah, you do. And I fought the first one, beat him, got his favor. Went to the second one, which was Ramu, who's like the lightning god. Killed him, was done. Next one was Leviathan, and Leviathan's the water one. And that's like chapter 11. Okay, and this is where... So up to that point, the story is very basic and like, oh, you're just trying to build up your powers, and then you're going to, reclaim the throne and kick out the Empire, yada, yada, yada. But there's also this whole story of Luna Freya, who is the main character's betrothed. They grew up together. They were like friends. They were both royal families. One's of Altissia, one's of Lucis. It's like another small little kingdom.
Okay.
That got taken over by the Empire. And the whole game, you're like trying to find her. Chapter 11, you find her when you're going to go to Leviathan, and she's the Oracle, meaning that she can communicate with the divine, and she helps the king. Like it's real complex fantasy stuff.
No, so she just talks to him at this point.
Well, I mean, she's kind of like a political leader too, in the whole in the storyline, and she does like some cool things. Like she's actually a character I really liked, and I wish they would have done more with too. Like the Marshal and her, I wish we would have done more. They do a lot of boy band stuff, and they don't do a lot of like bigger picture stuff, which I wish they would have done more of. But either way,
you're saying it's more focused on the 4 main characters than the world in itself?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I did that. Luna dies.
What?
You told me you wanted spoilers.
I mean,
spoiler.
I know, but what?
Yeah, she dies, and I was like, "What the heck?"
Did you see it coming, or are you just like?
No, I didn't see it coming because she like summons Leviathan because Leviathan's like the protector of Altissia, and she's the only one who can summon it. So it summons
Did he kill her?
And Leviathan is like super pissed at Luna Freya and attacks her. Yeah,
I mean, she woke him up.
But Luna Freya, like the Leviathan doesn't kill Luna Freya. It attacks her and makes her weak, but then the Chancellor of the Empire shows up, which he's like a really sporadic character throughout the whole storyline, ends up being the main boss.
Why is he just there?
Main bad guy.
Is he there for a reason? Like, was it public knowledge that you guys are going to wake this thing up?
He's like a puppet master guy. He's like behind the scenes pulling the strings all the time. So he just randomly shows up in the game and like either helps you or hurts you. Like the
Why would he
game.
help you?
Because I'll tell you the spoiler in a little bit. So he ends up like knifing her. Just straight up kills her, and I was like, just use the Phoenix down. This is Final Fantasy,
right?
She's not dead.
I know,
but she dies, and you defeat Leviathan, and I guess you kind of like win his favor.
How hard would it be for the game developers in any Final Fantasy game to like get the main characters, take all their items before any of this happens? Like you're surrounded, give us all your gear, kill this one girl, and then after that you go get your items back. Because by that time you can't use a Phoenix down.
Sure.
But this one's always like, you have a Phoenix down in your back pocket, just
but you can't
throw
use
it on her.
Right. I know. And the main character isn't around her when she dies.
She what?
He's like the main character Noctis is fighting the Leviathan when the Chancellor kills Luna.
Oh.
So that happens, and then he's like real sad, and somehow in the process, one of your buddies goes blind.
Which one's that? Is it the photo guy?
Ignis, the cook.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Ignis goes blind.
What do they all do? So there's
and then that gets really annoying.
There's the photo guy.
Prompto does photos.
Ignis does cooking.
Yeah, and then Gladios does survival, which is
what does your main character do?
He does fishing. He's a fisherman.
All right.
So then after that, it starts to get sporadic after that happens.
Then just a lot of stuff happens.
Kind of jump. So like your character gets blind, and then.
How does he in battle if he's blind? Like, how does that work?
He doesn't. Well, I mean, that's what gets really annoying is you lose him as essentially a party member. He can fight, but it's like he's not as effective. He runs up and he just like slices into the air like randomly, and sometimes he'll hit people, and sometimes he doesn't.
And you can't fix it.
Eventually, the storyline goes that he like learns how to see without seeing, and like he can fight normal again. But for a while in the game, he's like limited on what he can do, and he walks slow, which is really annoying too. Because you keep getting yelled at by your party members, like, "Hey, slow down! Wait for Ignis!" And it's like,
"Oh my gosh, just drive."
Well, you can't in dungeons and stuff.
Oh.
So that was really annoying. So then you go randomly to this like mine, and there's like no purpose. Well, I guess you get. Okay, I guess there's purpose to it, but you don't know. Like, there's just no direction. You just randomly go to this mine, then you randomly go to this other city, and it like the whole game was on like this quest to get all the Divine's favor. You kind of understood what was going on. Then all of a sudden, the Empire falls apart.
The massive Empire?
The Empire falls apart.
Did they have a giant weapon that got destroyed?
Well, they were using they captured demons and used them to make soldiers and stuff, like their own versions of them, which they could control. And that went haywire, and then the Emperor dies. Like, you don't even see
the Puppet Master?
No, the Chancellor is alive. But the Emperor dies. You don't even know. It's not even acknowledged in the game, other than there's a throne with just his outfit on it, which is part of the game. Like, as the darkness is where the demons come from, and so during the daytime, it's just like beasts and like monsters and stuff, and then at nighttime demons come out, which are way more powerful. And so nights start to get longer as you get further into the game, and the demons get out and all the stuff. And so you find like the Empire killed one of the Divine somehow, but you still get her favor.
What?
Because she's not dead, but you think she's dead. It's confusing. And then from there, you go to the end of the game, or like you go to the Empire's capital, and all hell's broken loose. Like, all the civilians are dead.
Okay.
All of the Empire officials are dead except for the Chancellor. And you go into their like military fortress, and everyone's just like zombified or monsterfied, and it's because the darkness has like corrupted everybody and turned them into demons, which you start to learn all the stuff. And then what you find out is the Chancellor is actually an immortal being, and it's actually the first king of Lucis. Is the Chancellor, and he was cursed by the Divine because he didn't choose to do something correctly, and so he's cursed to walk the realms of men, but now he's trying to screw everything up and kill the line of Lucis. And yeah, and he has to be like chosen by the crystal, which I haven't even talked about the crystal, which is another part of it. And yeah, it's real weird.
So you don't know what happens after that?
So I don't know. Up to this point, I went through the capital. I was chosen by the crystal. I got the 6th Divine by the end of it all, because the Bahamut is in the crystal. It sucks you in. And then you get sucked in by this crystal, right? Then you wake up 10 years later.
What?
Yeah, 10 years pass, and you wake up in this random dungeon, on this island you've never been to. None of your friends around you, and it's darkness all day long. 10 years later, your face changes, your jaw comes more protruded, and you have a beard when you wake up.
Beard.
And I was pretty happy. And then 10 years later, and then I run, so I come back to the main map, like the world map. I take a boat that was conveniently parked outside of my island, and I get on the land, and everything's like apocalypsified, like the whole map is. And I'm like running, and I'm fighting all these demons that are way harder than the regular guys that are there.
Yeah.
And I'm also by myself, so having 3 teammates who actually help in combat. Yeah. And so I fight a couple battles, and I win a couple, but then I get to this point where I'm level like 50 at this point, and I come across a level 99 demon.
Oh.
And he like one-shot kills me.
Yep.
I was like, this is stupid. I use Phoenix Down, that's fine.
There you go.
And then I run away, and I keep running, and the game, like the point I was supposed to run to was like 2.5 miles away, and it would take forever to run there. So eventually you get to the point where this guy picks you up, and you go, and you learn that every human who's left is in Lestalem, which is the city that has like a power plant that you helped fix. It's based off of like heat reservoir from the geysers and stuff. So it's like has clean energy that's like unlimited. So that's the only place the humans are left, because that's where light can be generated.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a couple outposts where like Hunter HQs are, where they're fighting the demons, which have power too from Lestalem. And that's it. And you meet back up with your buddies who have been fighting.
They're all still alive.
They're all still alive, but they all did separate things while you were gone, because it was too painful for them to be together. And so then you get together and you...
Do they have beards?
No. They actually didn't change that much.
What? No like face scars or anything?
Nope.
What? And they're fighting demons for 10 years and nothing?
What?
Are they more ripped? Are they jacked up?
I guess Ignis had new sunglasses, which he's blind, and then I think Gladius had a scar on his face that was different.
Gosh.
So then you guys are like, all right, it's time to end this. We got to go to Insomnia and take out Arden, who's the Chancellor.
But you don't take an army, it's just you 4.
Just you 4. And so you drive the Regalia to Insomnia, which is the capital city of Lucis, where you start the game. And you go there, and you're supposed to run up to the throne room and kill the Chancellor, who's been causing all this mayhem because he wants to turn the world to darkness to kill the crystal, which, cursed him in the first place. So that's where I'm at, because the path up there is full of like creatures that are really difficult to kill. Yeah. And I can't find the right path right now because it's kind of like a maze to get up there because all the debris. So I got to figure that out. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to pause, and there's a way you can... So in the game, you can always go back to the world map, but it's like going back in time is what it's called. but it doesn't really move you back in time. You still have all your stats and items and things.
Yeah.
But it's just a way to go back to the open world. So I just went back to the open world because I'm like, I'm not dealing with this right now. It was like 2 a.m. and I was tired. I was like, I'm done. So then I just started power leveling and watching Netflix. And
what movie did you watch?
Angry Birds. It was
the
really
Angry
bad.
Birds movie.
I just don't care what I watch when I play video games.
So what you were telling me in the car?
Yeah.
That there's story stuff that you wish they did more of, and story stuff that you wish they did less of.
Sure.
So it sounded like you were talking about the rebellion you wanted to see more of?
Sure, yeah, I wanted to see more direct conflict between the forces of Lucis and the forces of the Empire. So you kind of get the feeling from how they talk that the Empire is like super powerful and they like drop troops on you all the time when you're running around. But you don't really have many pitched battles against them. You kind of just like fight one of their bosses and then you get like trapped once by them. But I would have liked to have seen you not only trying to win the favor of the divine to become like a full powerful king like you're supposed to be. I also would have liked to see him as like a political leader. Like you're also getting your people together, inspiring them to fight against the Empire and rise up against them. That would have been cool. And I think they could have done that with more of the martial character and more direct stuff with that. But instead it goes down a different path. Which is more of it's really the divine, but you really don't even know what the plan is. Like, generally, you know what's going to be happening, like what you need to do, and sometimes what will happen is different than what you need to do, but you know what path you're on, and you really don't know that after Altissia and the Leviathan and Luna dies. Because then you get really mopey, your character gets really mopey, and then Ignis is blind, so everybody else is mopey, and they're mad at you for being mopey when Ignis went blind. There's like all the stuff, which is like I like the characters that they built as the core of the game. I like those guys, and I think they did a good job making them fun and to get to know and go deeper with. But at the same time, I think they could have spent more time on outside characters as well, and in bringing the narrative more in line with each other. So you kind of just like jump around. Yeah. Like you kill the Leviathan, and then the next thing you know, you're on a train to this mine, and you have no idea why. Like I don't like the character doesn't know why, or I don't know why as the player. The character I think knows, but it isn't communicated. Mm-hmm. You just like it tells you to go down the elevator, and you go down there, and then you go fight, and you get another another weapon of the king, which is what they are. But you really don't know why you're doing that in the moment, and everybody's just real mopey because Luna just died, Ignis is blind, and everybody's sad. And then they're not mopey anymore by the next one.
That is good. What happens in this chapter 13 that everyone's talking about?
Okay, chapter 13 is absolutely the worst because the game goes from being very open world and you have lots of fun combat you can do with all your weapons and you like equip your guy real nice to they take all of your items away.
Is this when you're in prison?
Yes.
10 years later?
No, this is before then. So when you first go to the capital, you get separated from Gladius and Ignis, and Prompto's been taken at that point. He's been stolen. Okay. So you're by yourself, and you have to go through the entire fortress of the Imperial, military by yourself. And it's full of, zombie characters and stuff. And if I wasn't over-leveled, it would have been really difficult. I was over-leveled, though, so it was easy. But it was just super long, and it's just, a very narrow path, and you had to go through all these different mazes and figure out these puzzles. And you could hide from the enemies as they walk past, and the Chancellor just kept making snide comments over the intercom the entire time. And usually chapters 30 to 45 minutes, and this chapter was 2 hours. Ugh. And it's just really long and drawn out, and you don't have any weapons, and it's so annoying because the combat's dumb. And I read an article because I was like, why is chapter 13 so bad? I Googled it, and this guy was like, they should not update chapter 13 because it should stay bad because. First off, there's just a lot of different arguments about it, but essentially, it frustrates the player, and he thought that was a good thing. That a game would have frustrations with the player. I think that's dumb. Either way, I thought it was really frustrating because it was so linear in a game that you can approach different ways in combat. Yeah, and you couldn't. You don't have your friends. You're by yourself, which most of the fun stuff dialogue.
Does he talk to himself?
No.
Lame.
So you're just by yourself. I mean No, he doesn't. I mean, sometimes he responds to the Chancellor on the intercom when he talks. And it just run through this thing. It takes forever. And there's so many bad guys at certain points. And eventually you find a sword, which is great, because then you can start fighting. But it takes like an hour to get there.
Yeah.
So that was just really frustrating and super long and drawn out. Yeah. So that's why Chapter 13 sucks.
So you're enjoying it?
I enjoy the game. The combat's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I love the combat. I do like the main characters. I wish... and I think this is like a solid B game. It's a B game. It's good.
You're going to platinum it?
I'm going to platinum it.
You're never going to go back?
I don't know. I don't know. There's season passes, so during the storyline, the different characters like exit at a certain point for like a chapter, and the DLC is going to be what they went to go do. And so Gladius comes back with a giant scar down the middle of his chest.
Ooh.
And so it'd be interesting to see what that's all about. So I don't know.
Heart surgery.
Maybe. I might get the DLC for it after I 100% it and play those. But we'll see.
Interesting.
But man, that was a long time talking about Final Fantasy. But we got the most important thing of the year.
The most important thing of the year!
Underpaid Gamer Awards!
2015!
Okay. Let's jump into that.